share with you the key words from Psalm 121. I lift up my eyes to the hills. Where does my help come from? My help comes from the Lord, the maker of heaven and earth. Indeed, he who watches over Israel will neither slumber nor sleep. The Lord watches over you. The sun will not harm you by day, and the moon by night. The Lord will keep you from all harm. He'll watch over your life. The Lord will watch over your coming and going, both now and forevermore. That's the reading. Let's bow our heads for a short prayer. Lord God, again, come to us today. Fill us with your confidence, with your love, with your forgiveness, the knowledge that we are your children today and forever. Keep us strong in our faith, dear Lord. Amen. There was a college student, very gifted kid. Yeah, he was one of those kids that was in the running for a 4.0 kind of a thing, just like Dooley was when he was in college. He was taking a physics exam, and one of the questions that he was marked wrong was this question. He argued with the professor afterwards. He said, using a barometer, measure the height of a 10-story building. Okay. And of course, the instructor marked it wrong because the answer was this. Well, you take your barometer, attach a string to it, lower it down, mark off when it hits the bottom, and then measure it, and then count it off that way. Technically, he was correct, wasn't he? He did measure the height of the building using a barometer, but not using physics. And so the professor marked it wrong, and he challenged him on that. He said, I completed the question, didn't I? And so the colleague looked over it, and the colleague did say, well, you did get the correct answer. He said, well, if they are kind of green, I'll give him another one. He said, we use the same question, but you got to use physics this time to give the answer. So this one smart kid, and he said that he hated the way the professors kind of spoon-fed him stuff, you know. So he did things his way. That he says, I got to quote it here because kind of neat way he phrased it here. He said, all right, he said, take the barometer to the top of the building, lean over the edge of the roof, drop the barometer, timing its flow with a stopwatch. Then, using the formula S equals 1/2 AT2, calculate the height of the building. Again, physics, and the correct answer, but not the answer the guy wanted to hear. He wanted to see the barometer change, we went up and down right there, right? Things like that. So finally, the guy said, all right, you were right. So, can you give me one more answer? He said, just to kind of test him. He said, all right. So the simplest, easiest way, so go and take your barometer, go into the basement of the building, knock on the superintendent's door and say, if you tell me the height of the building, I'll give you this new barometer for free. How many ways are there to get to heaven? Just one. Yeah. There are multiple answers here. But again, the height, we're talking about that, the height mentioned in our Bible reading today. There's only one place to look when we are in time of need, isn't there? And that is up to heaven, right? And that's what the psalmist, when he wrote these words, wanted the people of Israel to know and to be reminded of. There's only one answer to our time of need. Look to the Lord, from whence comes my help. Look up to the hills again. And if you remember, Jerusalem, the city, was built on a big hill. A series of hills, kind of like Wallapai. There's one big Wallapai mountain, right? But there's a bunch of peaks on there, correct? Israel is like that, not quite that high, not quite that many peaks, but there's a similar thing. And so the Israelites, whenever they wanted to come to Jerusalem, and they would oftentimes want to come because they wanted to worship God in the temple, they had to make a 7,000-foot hike. Not an easy thing, right? On foot. On foot. The lowest part of Israel was 7,000 feet below there. Most of them were a little higher than that, so it wasn't quite 7,000, but most of them had at least a 6,000-foot elevation hike. You want to get to Jerusalem, you really want to get there. Maybe a good example of that, they're going down to Bullhead. That thing just keeps going and going and going and going, right? It's not a huge mountain, is it? But it just keeps going. So you're down by the Colorado River, and now Jerusalem's up top on that, what's the name of that peak there again? whatever the name of the peak is, 35. That's a similar thing. You're going to make a hike. Is that an easy thing to do on foot? Our cars sometimes have problems. I overheated once going over there. So again, the psalmist is reminding people, again, this final one of our series here, that our help comes from the Lord, the maker of heaven and earth. Does that mean our help is certain? Absolutely, right? The Lord did it. The Lord said it. It's going to happen, isn't it? The Lord made that promise to us to always be with us there. So the psalmist again remind us of that we are to look to the Lord for our help. I guess for you three are being confirmed today, that'd be my words of urging, right? Continue, always, throughout your lives, look to the Lord for your help, your strength, your guidance, your forgiveness. Look to Him for all your needs. Don't ever forget about Him. Think back to the time when you were confirmed. Most of you only about 10 years or so, right? How did you feel on that day? Excited? Right? Somewhat relieved? A little bit on the nervous side too? Really, we don't have to be that way. We simply have to know the Lord. Whenever I have a wedding, I always tell a couple there, before the wedding starts, I said, I want to see your hands. They should be like this, none of this stuff. It should be like that. If I've done what I'm supposed to be doing for you, I've shown you that your wedding is not a performance. It's not something you need to be nervous about. It's all your family and friends supporting you, wanting to be there for you, sharing that joy with you, right? And most of all, our wedding is the Lord making it a triangle. The Lord, husband, wife. I get standing for God. That's what it is. Is there anything nervous about that? Confirmation, there's nothing to be nervous about, is there? You're going to tell yourselves, you're going to tell your folks, you're going to tell your family of believers here, you're going to tell the world, most of all, you're going to tell our Lord, I love you, and I'll never leave you. I know what you did for me on Calvary's cross. I know I'm rescued from sin. I know that the only way to get to heaven is through you, and I'm never going to leave you, Lord. I'm never going to forsake you, like you promised never leave me or forsake me. That's a serious promise, isn't it? You know, one of the wordings that we often use this is that this is a direct quote from our thing. Will you suffer all, even death, rather than fall away from Christ? Oh my heart. Oh my heart. That is a serious vow? Yeah. Think about that. You're 14 years old or so, right? Goodness, if I suffer all, even death, and fall away? Oh my heart. That's quite a promise, isn't it? But that's how sure and certain God wants us to be, isn't it? Are there going to be trials, temptations, and testings in your life? Nod your heads. Right? That's why you need that absolute certainty right now of what you're going to do. We're going to come up in a couple of weeks, we're going to have this passage here, which is my favorite passage from the Bible. We're going to talk about this very similar thing. I don't care what anybody else says. I don't care what anybody else does. I don't care what anybody else thinks. Joshua's words there, as for me and my household, we will serve the Lord. Very good. I don't care what people think. Who's doing what's important? God in heaven, right there. My help comes from the Lord, the maker of heaven and earth. That's why we have that. That's why we remember that. Yeah, I had a couple times in my ministry, I've had people come into my office and been really distraught and discouraged, depressed. And one guy came into my office one time and he says to me, Pastor, I can't take it anymore. Things are just terrible. And I said, well, how terrible are they? They're so terrible, the only thing I got left is God. And I kind of smiled at him and said, well, then you're good. You can exactly want to hear that. But he was, wasn't he? If it's me and God against the world, I'll take those odds, won't you? In fact, I'll put 1,000 to 1 on that one. And it was in the last part of that pair. Me and the Lord. Can we rest secure in God's help and presence? Yeah. See, even things that occur in our lives that we don't like, that we don't appreciate, that we don't want necessarily, God uses for our good, don't they? God uses for our good so we might be strengthened in our faith, increase our reliance on Him. Just the other day again, I was talking to somebody else, and they said the exact thought that I've expressed many times. When you're hurting, when you're in a hospital, when things aren't going so well, I don't know what people do without the Lord. I don't either. Are we frail and fallible? Yeah. The biggest, toughest guy can be taken down by a little tiny virus, can't he? You think about Goliath in the Bible, little tiny rock. Itty bitty. Took him down, right? Massive guy, 9'6" tall. Had to be 400 and some pounds, right? Fully armored. Little bitty rock. As when this expression goes, I love this expression somebody else made up. For every Goliath, there's a stone. For every Goliath, there's a stone. That stone is the Lord, isn't it? He gives us our strength and our confidence. That's why the guy said, the Lord is my presence. You see, we've probably been there before, right? Sometimes we've been discouraged when things aren't going well for you, health-wise, family-wise, financial-wise, whatever it might be. Things aren't going well for you. Then we have our Lord to depend on and to rely on, don't we? My help comes from the Lord. We know that whatever struggle or difficulty we're going through, God is going to get us through that, isn't He? We can depend on that. His promises are sure. Last words of Jesus before He left for heaven. Lo, I'm with you always to the very end of the age. Yeah. I'm with you always, very end of the age. You see, the answer to our problem is not going to be in the halls of higher learning. It's not going to be in Wall Street. It's not going to be in the friends we have. The answer is found in the Holy Word. Why? In the sacraments. In prayer to our Lord. Those are where we get our answers from. The Lord who made heaven and earth, He's done all things for us. He will keep you from all harm, it says right here. He'll watch over your life. My eyes look to the hills. Remember Romans 8:28? And we know that in all things, guys know this one, God works for the good of those who love Him and are called according to His purpose. Yeah, that's my guys. Called according to His purpose. All our problems come from the Lord. All our answers to our problems come from the Lord. Well, problems come from us. The world around us, or our sinful nature. You see, God calls us. He asks us to do these things. If you look in the Bible, you ever notice that the words that are written here are called a song of ascents. A-S-C-E-N-T-S, that means going up. Basically, translated, that means a song to sing when you're walking up the hill to Jerusalem. The songs are a song to sing when you're walking up to the hill to Jerusalem. Did you enjoy singing on Eagle's Wings a minute ago? Right? What a good, wonderful thought. He will raise you up. How true that is. God will raise you up. What's He going to raise us up for most of all? From the pit of sin and death through sin, right? We'd be lost eternally without Him. We'd be headed for the devil's domain, wouldn't we? We'd be Satan's servant. But for Christ, but for Him. He suffered and died for us. He rose for us. He guarantees us a place in heaven. He lifted up my eyes to the hills. Not down. That's kind of ironic, isn't it? We think about hell is down, heaven is up. And since God's everywhere, so that's wrong. But in other ways, I like that illustration. Looking up to the hill, looking up to heaven. And hell, you think about the flames and the awful things. God, lift up my eyes to the hills, from whence comes my help. That comes from the Lord. Isn't it great to know, too, that our Lord is always watching out for us, looking out for us? He says, I lift up my eyes to the hills. My help comes from the Lord, the maker of heaven and earth. Why are the people climbing a hill? To seek God's comfort and guidance in the temple. To seek His blessings from all the things that they've done wrong. And confirmation, the same thing, isn't it? You're confirming the faith that you had when you were baptized. You're saying to all the people here, I'm going to follow Jesus. He's my Savior. He's my Lord. He's my God. That's my commitment to Him. what confirmation is. Every time you come here on Sunday morning, isn't it saying the same thing? I'm committing myself to the Lord. Are you here to show off your nice new outfits to other people? No. Most people wear new outfits. Jeepers creepers. Are you here to shove a new hairdo you got? No. Are you here because we're such great conversationalists after church? No. We're here for one reason alone. To say, Lord, have mercy on me, a sinner. And here, I get to say, wonderful Lord, I love this part of my job. Go in peace. Your sins are forgiven. I love that part of my job. Oh, nothing ain't better than that. What a great job. Go in peace. Go with the Lord's protection. Go with the Lord's guidance, because He will not slumber nor sleep. You notice the problems we have with sleep and slumber? In the Garden of Gethsemane, what did the disciples do? And Jesus asked them simply, wait with Him for a while. How many times did they fall asleep? 3 times. And Jesus, guys! The spirit is willing, but the flesh is weak. Yeah. We slumber, sleep. God needs no naps. God doesn't take vacations. God doesn't go on coffee breaks. God's there with us 24/7, 365, isn't He? We oftentimes fall asleep with a switch, don't we? You know where that term came from? It came from the old railroads. Back before they had automatic stuff. A train was going a certain direction. There was the train yard where the train would come into, and it would send them out to a different direction. So the guy who was in charge of that had to flip a switch, had to push the tracks. It would go from this one over to this one, or that one, whichever way it was supposed to go there. A lot of times what happened was the trains were late. A long time coming, especially within the northern territories where you get snow and stuff. And so again, the guy was there until the trains came. 12, 14, 16 hours sometimes. And what happened at the end of that 16 hours? He'd be asleep at the switch. Right? Literally, asleep at the switch right there. The train would end up going somewhere where it didn't want to go. The Lord ever fall asleep at the switch? No. Lord's got us on that train track going up to heaven, doesn't He? He'll not slumber nor sleep. That's the great God we have, that He has done all those things for us. Isn't it great to know that He never fails? That He never weakens? That He never has those moments of, oops. He doesn't have it. He's consistent all the time to all His people. We simply have to learn to trust in Him. We simply have to learn to rely on Him, to know that He's going to give us what we need. To ask Him in prayer and the like, to give us what we need. Now He's going to give us what's best for us. I heard a story during World War II. London Blitzkrieg was going on, the bombs falling and things like that. And so people oftentimes would, at night, instead of sleeping in their homes, they would literally take their beds out to the fields. And they'd figure, okay, the bombers are going to go for the cities and not for the fields. They'd sleep out in the fields right there. And those who weren't able to do that or chose not to do that, they always had to check and make sure that they were okay in the morning to come there. And one time there was one bombing that lasted from dark till dark. It just kept coming and kept coming and kept coming. And this one lady they couldn't find, Mrs. Smythe. Again, they couldn't find Mrs. Smythe in that. They looked all over for her. Thought she made a field, looked at other people's homes and subways and whatever. Couldn't find her. Finally, someone said, let's look back at her house. The house was partially destroyed. They found her house. She was asleep in bed. And he said, what are you doing here? And he said, I'm sleeping. What do you think I'm doing? He said, how can you sleep? He said, well, the Psalm tells me the Lord will neither slumber nor sleep. So I figured there's no sense for both of us staying awake all night, so I went to bed. Trust in the Lord, right? You know what that is? Trust in the Lord. You can sleep through a bombing. Oh, my heart. The Lord will neither slumber nor sleep. He'll take care of you no matter where you are. What you're doing. That's a comfort we have, knowing that you got it. And then the psalmist, he continues there even more. The Lord will keep you from all harm. He'll watch over your life. The Lord will watch over your coming and going both now and forevermore. Isn't that comforting to know? That God will watch over our going and coming from now and forevermore. Last week in our reading Jesus and the disciples in the hostile territory, telling them that the kingdom of heaven is near. And he assured them that he'd take care of them. In fact, this is a quote from that one. Are not 2 sparrows sold for a penny? Yet not one of them will fall to the ground apart from the will of your Father. Even the very hairs of your head are numbered, so don't be afraid. You're worth more than many sparrows. That's how much God loves us. Numbering the very number of hairs on our head. Some of us have more, some of us have less. He knows them. Sparrows, are there thousands of those things around? Millions, perhaps billions of sparrows in the world? Yeah. God knows when one of them falls to the ground. That's how much God cares about us. That's why we can know Him, love Him, cherish Him, know that our going in, our coming out is covered. God's got it covered. That's where we are. Let me share one final word before I stop today. That's the idea about the beginning where it talks about the Psalm of Ascents. I'm going up to Jerusalem. I talked about that, singing the verses there, things like that. One thing we got to make sure of that we don't make the mistake that so many religions do, and that is to think that you have to do something to help save yourself. You have to ascend to God or something like that. Does we ascend to God, or is it vice versa? Christ ascended to us, didn't He? The Lord of heaven and earth, the maker of heaven and earth, left those glorious realms and came down to be part of us. Jesus, born of the Virgin Mary, suffered under Pontius Pilate, crucified, died, was buried, ascended to hell. The third day He rose again from the dead. Right? God comes to us, not vice versa. We're only the recipients of His grace and His goodness. We can't do a single thing to save ourselves. We can't erase one single sin we committed. We can only receive the Lord's forgiveness and say, thank you, Lord, for being so good to me. Many of the religions in the world, they make the thing that you have to make an effort to get to God. You have to do something to please God. Even the Israelites got that false idea. Remember, towards Jesus' day especially, they were just doing the sacrifices because they had to do them, not because they wanted to do them. Again, if you ever get to the point where you have to be in church versus want to be in church, isn't something wrong? Don't you need to re-examine and think, why am I here today? Is it here because I want to, or because I need to, or because I'm thankful to God for what He's done? I'm thankful to God, right? In China, I was reading about this somewhere, and I just kind of wrote it down here. In China, there's a mountain they call Taishan. Taishan, I think it's pronounced that way. It's called a sacred mountain. And people climb 7,000 steps to its summit, first passing through the middle gate, then through what they call Heaven's southern gate. And finally, they reach one of the most beautiful buildings in China called the Temple of the Azure Cloud. Never heard of that before until I looked up on the internet last night. Temple of the Azure Cloud. Here again, they offer sacrifice they figure will gain their God's favor. Boy, what a foolish waste of time, isn't it? You don't have to climb any mountain or descend any subway or go anywhere. We can know that God's with us wherever we're at. Be it at your home, in your car, at your job, out having fun, wherever it might be, our God's with us. Do we have to earn His love, deserve His love, merit His love? No. Do we have to climb wall by mountain to get to His love? No. We have His love. We've received His love. We're thankful for His love. Thanks be to God who gives us the victory in the Lord Jesus Christ. So my dear friends, continue to climb the hill of the Lord. Let God be your guide. Confirmants, lift up your eyes to the hills. Your help comes from there too. Amen.